Hi, welcome to the Chris Network. I'm Dick Wagner. Today, I want to talk to you about the new selling world. The new selling world is so dramatically different than what it was just 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. Folks, the game has changed significantly. You see the guy in the upper right-hand corner, the picture. I thought this was pretty interesting. It's an actual video on YouTube, and it shows him using his golf club to hit a football a fairly large distance. I would guess that to be 100, 125 feet to that basketball hoop that's back against the trees. And he takes his club and hits the ball, the football, and it goes into the basket. That's golf, football, and basketball mixed into one. And that seems to be what has been happening in the selling world the last few years. Our culture, our society has changed so much that it's quite a challenge to keep up with. I'm literally spending hours a day, often 7 days a week, studying and learning and understanding, practicing the strategies of the new selling world. First and foremost, trust is number one. You won't buy a car from somebody you don't trust. You won't buy a computer at a store like Best Buy if you just simply don't trust that person. And they aren't going to buy from you. I don't care if it's a plumber, an insurance agent, or a commercial property manager. They are not going to buy from you unless they have complete trust in you. If you don't have trust and you don't have credibility, it's just about assured that you have no sale. Interestingly enough, if you don't have any personal branding, the two above come into play. Without personal branding, you often have no credibility and no trust. Maybe they'll buy without any branding, but when you have personal branding, it is a precursor. It is in advance of you getting there. Your personal brand leads the way rather than coming later. It just seems like salespeople all over the world act the same, say the same things, respond or react to the way gatekeepers or prospects respond to them. It is absolutely not about the quality of your service, but certainly the quality of your service has to be there. It isn't about the quality of your product, but certainly your product has to have some quality to it. It isn't about the wonderful employees that you have working for you. It is not about the latest equipment. It's not about the newest techniques. And techniques and equipment and employees are important, but they aren't the final solution. So many times, and you all see this the same as I do on Facebook, how somebody will proudly show a picture of their great new logo that they're trying out, or just designed, excuse me, or it's showing pictures of their brand new vinyl wrapped vehicles. Yeah, that's really cool. They stand out. They're unique. They look different, but it isn't about that either. And I've written an article or two on this subject. It is absolutely not about your trifold, four color, glossy brochures and folders and flyers and promos. And although it's useful in many situations, handing out tchotchke items or those freebies, everything from refrigerator magnets to it just goes on and on and on. Clips for chip bags and uh, cell phone holders and notepads. Folks, it's not about any of these 8 or 9, 10 things. When you follow this routine, you are a mirror image of every other salesperson out there. You're not standing out unique. Today, the world doesn't like salespeople more than ever before. I'm old enough to tell you what it was like in the 70s and the 80s. And even then, people weren't real fond of salespeople, but they tolerated them. And there's a specific reason for that. And we're going to talk about that in the next slide. But today, understand it is a different world that we live in. It's a different culture within our own circle and world. And there are different attitudes that the people have, and especially about salespeople. Years ago, in the 70s, 80s, 90s especially, the salesperson was relied upon to bring the knowledge, to bring the information, to bring the details and the technical aspects and the importance, the features and the benefits of the particular product or service that they were selling. That all went away with the advent of Google and Yahoo and other search engine programs. Google, you all know you can Google almost anything, almost any topic, any subject, any technical issue. You can go to YouTube and search for almost any instructional video on just about anything. No longer is the salesperson bringing the important information to the prospect that they used to bring. Today, it's at their fingertips. It's readily available. If you're always closing or trying to always be closing, you get a bad reputation. Nobody likes salespeople that are continually trying to close the deal. There are still to this day coaches and consultants out there telling you try to do a close, use trial closes. There's even a coaching out there referring to the ABC, stands for always be closing. That stuff is bogus today. It's just not valid, because if you stop and you think about it, every single one of you listening to this webinar absolutely dislike somebody trying to sell you. Prospects are put off by the typical salesperson. Your prospect or your potential client log you into the stereotypical annoying column of salesperson. And gatekeepers are masters today at finding ways to prevent you from getting past them. This is my opinion. I'm going to state that right up front. The old, or what were and in some cases are, popular strategies for selling and for your sales efforts, in today's world, they have the potential to ruin your credibility. I have listed on the screen here 8 or 9 pretty world famous consultants and authors and trainers in the sales world. Many of them you will recognize, and they were great. I mean, I'm one of those people that read almost every one of these books back in the 70s and the 80s and maybe even into the 90s. And at that time, there was great information. But today, and I'll repeat it again, in my opinion, most of this philosophy of the sales strategies, most of it doesn't work well in our new selling world. Too many times when you walk into a client or you even call them on the phone, you look or you sound like a salesperson. You know, nobody likes, everybody is on guard. People are prepared to shut you down if you look like or sound like a salesperson. The best way to overcome this is to be an ACE, ACE, have authority. In other words, be a specialist in what you're bringing to the table. Number 2, be a celebrity. And you might say, oh, how could I possibly be a celebrity? I'm not on TV. I don't have a TV show. I'm not a musician that's known worldwide. I'm talking about being a celebrity within your own right, within your own community. In other words, being known and to be respected in your own backyard. And then exclusivity, ACE, authority, celebrity, and exclusivity. Exclusivity is selecting the clients you want. I work with and coach and talk with salespeople 5 days a week. And so often when I question a salesperson or marketer about how they go about narrowing down, selecting, identifying the potential prospects that they call on and that they try to get into their fold, the answer is often, well, I want everybody. And my answer back is, no, you don't. Not every sale or every customer is the right sale. Not every prospect is the right client for you. Use exclusivity and be choosy. Select which prospects or clients you want. When you do this, when you follow that ACE philosophy, it enhances your personal brand And when you have a personal brand, as I said in 2 slides back, 3 slides back, 4 slides back, it's not about what you bring to the table in a sales pitch. It's about what you bring to the table in personal branding. Please don't look like or act like or talk like a salesperson. Just like the sales guy in the right-hand picture, blah, 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 to the lady sitting at the desk. They don't want to hear it. It comes across like you've got a bullhorn and you're just blabbing away, shouting meaningless information that nobody wants. But if you want to become a specialist, if you want to have authority, learn how to write blog articles. You don't have to write one every day. Maybe one a month is even adequate. You've got to, when you put information on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you've got to post good content. It's got to be interesting, useful, even entertaining. And posting good content needs to come with some graphics, some visuals, pictures. People love pictures. People love content that is visual in nature. That's what draws the eye to the post, and it gets them or encourages them to read your blurb. Yes, you want to be an authority, be active on social media. And I'm really specifically talking about marketers and salespeople. Twitter is, although some people want to argue with me about it, Twitter is an excellent medium to pound out in a matter of seconds a blurb that, with the appropriate information and at the appropriate hashtag and a following, can go out there and be significant and elevate your authority. Becoming a celebrity, and specifically a celebrity within your community, how do you do that? I can just hear some of you now saying, oh my gosh, I can't do public speaking. Some people, I've read recently where some people would rather have a root canal than to be a public speaker. And it's really very doable. The reason most people aren't comfortable being celebrity or being a speaker at events is because they're not comfortable about the amount of knowledge they know on the subject that they're going to be talking about. Find a way to get interviewed on radio or TV and be willing to share secrets. And you can do sharing of secrets on your social media platforms. I don't mean secrets about, what you did last night at the dance party. I'm talking about secrets that relate to insider information about the industry or industries that you're calling on, that you're working on. And third, exclusivity. Again, ACE, E is the exclusivity by selecting the clients you want. I love when you start out working with a client or you are being interviewed by the client or they're inquiring about your services. One of my favorite lines is, I have a few questions to ask you because we may not be a good fit. It's interesting when you say that, why or how so many people will go, what? Why wouldn't I be a good fit? Another way that you can have exclusivity is to have a full calendar. Be busy. When the prospect says, hey, can you stop by next week? And you respond, sure, I'm wide open. Tell me what day and what time, and I'll be there. Well, that isn't exclusivity. That's telling them that you really don't have anything going on. You're not very important, and you're pretty desperate. You'll take just about anything they offer. I highly encourage you, as part of being exclusive, is to evaluate and diagnose their particular pain or issue or their headache prior to trying to, quote unquote, sell them. Get into your vocabulary when and this works great. You walk into an insurance agent's office and you tell them who you are and what company you're with, and that you want to ask them a few questions. And the reason that you do is you want to understand if we're a good fit. And we may not be a good fit. And so when you ask them to interview them or talk with them, asking them a few questions, and you follow it up with, and the reason is because I want to determine if there's a fit or not. If there's not a good fit, I don't want to waste your time month after month after month coming in here and bugging you. Successful salespeople, catch that? Successful salespeople develop strategies and campaigns that position themselves as significant. It puts them in a position where they're thought of as trustworthy, they're perceived as reliable, and they're thought of as different. It's really valuable when prospects think of you, knowing you're a salesperson, and they believe you're different. And hopefully they believe you're different because you're not the typical salesperson. The fact is, poor salespeople still to this day focus on features and benefits and having a better product or having a better service. Catch the beginning of that? Poor salespeople. And I mean poor salespeople in a couple different ways. Salespeople that are lousy at what they do. And when they're lousy at what they do, they're probably also poor. And when they are poor salespeople, they probably won't survive in the job that they're at. I said a minute ago, try to be different. Different is better. Don't try to be better than your competitors. Be different. And when you are different in a special, unique manner, this is where the profit is. This is where the sale happens. The more unique you are, the more exclusive you are, the more involved you are in being recognized in the community as an expert, the higher you can charge, the more money you can get. profit is found where the salesperson is thought of as different. And I'm going to clarify the word different and add the word uniquely different. Uniquely in front of the word different. Be uniquely different. Be a salesperson or a marketer that is absolutely standout, totally unusual, unique, and different from every other salesperson and marketer that's walking in those doors ahead of them and after them. I also think that it's extremely important that you have a personal brand. I touched on it a few minutes ago, but people buy from people. People don't buy from companies. Folks, you need a personal statement. You need to be able to say something about yourself that's memorable, that's significant. One of the great ways to do that is incorporate that into your personal engagement on social media. It's the beautiful way to build and enhance your personal brand. I have already said one of the ways you enhance personal branding is to speak at local community events, the chamber, a BNI meeting, and many, many others that are out there. Get good at asking one specific question at every meeting you attend. Make your question a signature question, one that you're always asking. This sets you apart. That key, unusual, different question that nobody ever asks, that makes everybody's head turn and go, whoa, didn't see that coming. This enables you to build your own personal network also. You should be building your own personal network of connections, relationships, people that are familiar with you. To build your personal brand, you should create and send out a regular monthly email. I mean, coming from you as part of the company, not some generic email that's blasted out to every agent or every plumber. Know your target audience. It frustrates me to no end when I ask somebody in a class, who do you market to? And they might raise their hand and tell me, we market to plumbers. And so then, because I'm pretty knowledgeable about the plumbing industry, I'll ask them 2 or 3 typical common questions about the plumbing industry. Shocking that they don't know the answers, yet they're calling on plumbers trying to be credible. If you're calling on a plumber and you don't know what the brand Rigid is, RIGID, Rigid, if you're calling on plumbers and don't know what that brand is, you're missing the boat, folks. If you're calling on plumbers and you don't know the kinds of tools that they use, if you're calling on plumbers and you don't know what their everyday frustrations, annoyances, and headaches are, you're missing the boat. The last 5 years have provided the biggest shift in the sales style than ever before in history. This is just the last 5 years. So if you're a salesperson or marketer out there that's been in varying roles for 10, 15, or 20 years, and you're still trying to do it the way you learned back in the 90s and the 80s and before, you're probably missing the boat. I love hiring people that are older only because they usually bring a great work ethic to the table. But when they bring that great work ethic, they always seem to bring the baggage of, well, this is how I did it in 1987. Oh, geez, it worked great back then. I was at the top of my sales field. But they're not anymore because they're still trying to do it the way it was done 10, 15, 20 years ago. The fact is, 92%, this is prospects now, this is customers now, 92% say they trust recommendations from people that they know. And 72%, still a pretty significant number, say that they trust consumer opinions posted online. So get into the habit of posting opinions about products and services. Build yourself a reputation. And this has been my favorite now for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and that is video. Video testimonials are an awesome, credible, believable format to give yourself a competitive edge. We talked about this a little bit earlier, that salespeople had power prior to Google and Bing and Yahoo. They had power because the customer didn't have any other way to find out about their products or their services or their reputation or their credit rating or their legal status or reviews about the company. But today, your consumer, your end user, your residential or your commercial client already knows this stuff. They probably have already searched you. I've stood teaching a class and I've made a statement that might even potentially be thought of as bold or even questionable. And I have had people immediately reach for their phones in class and Google that information right there while I'm talking. And everybody loves to find a glitch or a hiccup in a presenter's information, and they're not shy about telling you about it. Prior to Google, salespeople had the power because the consumer had to rely on the salesperson to bring that information to them. Today, if the salesperson is trying to spew out all of that technical features and benefits garbage, they're shown to the door. They're sent away. And the gatekeeper is masterful at doing that. I already said or talked about this in a previous slide. People don't trust salespeople. So what's the solution here, folks? I think it's pretty easy. Number one, don't act like a salesperson. You're the one that's in charge, or should be. You're in control of that sales process. So remember, people trust those with authority. People trust those that have some level of celebrity. People trust those people that have exclusivity. People trust specialists. What does that mean? I recently went to an ENT, ear, nose, and throat specialist. He was a specialist. I was absolutely fully confident that he knew what he was talking about because he did and said the right things. I went to him rather than my general practitioner doctor because it was more important than the generic kinds of information that my general practitioner doctor could provide. Specialists are often trusted more than the generic person. And for those of you that have known me for a few years, I have harped about, talked about, promoted, encouraged sales and marketers to be mavens. It means trusted advisor. It means become a go-to for your customers. And I think probably everybody that's on this webinar, and those of you, many that will be watching it later once it's up on the Crest Network website, you know that there are hundreds of Maven articles on many, many different topics that you can refer to, you can download and hand out. And just as a reminder, there are topics on churches or religious organizations. There are topics on healthcare and hospitality, topics on insurance agents, nursing homes, property management companies, plumbers, schools, colleges, and universities. Folks, they're there. The work has been done for you. All you've got to do is go into the website, click on the Maven article you want, download it, print it, put your name and phone number on there if you're delivering it to those that know you. In the sales process, the quicker and the faster you learn to control the sales process, the more significant your sales will be. When you're in control, you dictate the price. Successful salespeople are seen as experts. They're seen as celebrities. They're seen as trusted advisors or mavens. And sadly, poor salespeople are seen as generic and pushy people. I think it's worth repeating. We had this slide up a few minutes ago. I just think it's worth repeating because I'm hoping that you will really lock this into your head. People trust authority. People trust specialists. They trust celebrity, especially in your community. They trust exclusivity. And they trust mavens. Simply, maven means trusted advisor. So how do you become a celebrity? Real quickly, repeating, you need self-promotion and publicity. Just talked to somebody a few days ago that made the comment, I'm not very good at self-promotion. I really like to fly under the radar. I don't really like publicity. You're in the wrong profession if you're a salesperson. You need self-promotion and you need publicity. You can get it by becoming an author. You can get it by writing articles for a blog site. You can get it from writing great posts on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and even Instagram. You can ask for recommendations from those people you're connected with on LinkedIn. And you can even make short YouTube videos on some compelling topic that you feel strongly about and know a lot about. My experience with salespeople, and I've coached hundreds of them over the years, is that most salespeople, when they head out in the morning, they just wing it. I think that, and this wasn't my percentage, but I read recently where it's estimated that 95% of salespeople going out every day are winging it. They have not developed a process to sell. They haven't, and here's the process, and here's what it should include. It should include very specific lead generation, finding and creating potential leads. It should include qualifying your prospects. It should include building trust, knowing what their pains are, speaking their language or their lingo or terminology. It should include setting appointments. It should include a smooth and logical sales presentation, and I'll put a little asterisk by that one. It should include a sales presentation of the information that they need to know that they would not have been able to get someplace else. They need to do follow-up with those leads. And sadly, they don't. I also read the number that it's something like 80% of salespeople don't follow up on their leads. You get a fistful of business cards from all those people milling around at an after hours chamber meeting, but then they never follow up on them. They don't ask for referrals and they don't ask for introductions to potential prospects. And sadly enough, they don't actively use a customer relations management software. Your CRM should be a cornerstone of your tracking and knowing who you were seeing, what you have said, what you're going to say, reminders coming down the road in the future. Successful salespeople have well thought out and repeatable selling systems in place. Poor salespeople, sadly, have no systems, no methodology, no strategy, and consequently, they have poor sales. Going back one slide, I want to repeat this because I hope everybody will either commit this to memory or take a screenshot of this or go back and watch it later and take a screenshot of it. Selling is a process. It's not just simply an activity. And so your process needs to include these 10 things. These are critical 10 points to develop a process, to have a logical strategy for you to sell to your clients. Remember, ultra high sales performers are killing it. Poor salespeople aren't following this process and they are poor. Remember, it has to be a repeatable process where you do it over and over and over. And you only change it up slightly when you're calling on a different type of client or a different vertical. Thanks, folks. I'm Dick Wagner. You've been watching the Crest Network. I appreciate the time you have spent with us today. Talk to you next time.